Senators argue over the continued closure of Nigeria's borders, ordered by President Muhammadu Buhari to curb smuggling. Is closure the solution? And the Vice President offers to waive his immunity to prove his innocence in the 90 billion naira corruption allegation. Can he really do this? This is Plus Politics, and I am Felicity Ezewuike. The news of the closure of Nigeria's borders came as a shock to many stakeholders, and as expected, many have reacted. Earlier, the Economic Community of West African State ECOWAS warned that the action which prevents the free movement of people is a violation of agreements signed by Nigeria. On Wednesday, when the matter came up for debate at the National Assembly, some senators criticized the decision on the grounds that it has further put pressure on the economy and deprived many Nigerians of their livelihood. But a voice vote was won in support of the president's decision. Although President Buhari has said that the closure is to curb smuggling activities, we wonder if this really is the answer. Joining me to discuss this are two gentlemen. We have a journalist, Dipo Olayokun. Thank you very much for joining us. And of course, we have Babashola Adegbuye, political analyst. Always a pleasure to have you both join us on the program. All right. Senators went at it, arguing about this border closure, even though they eventually, supported the president's action. And ECOWAS has said it is a violation of the trade agreement they just recently signed by Nigeria. Let me start with you, sir. What is your thought on this entire situation?
Yes, thank you. Let's begin with the ECOWAS leaders and their comments. According to them, apart from the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which we have just signed, and I don't think it has come into effect because each countries, they are still studying until they are going to put up together a technical committee that will now finalize it. But let us come to the one that's already on ground. That is the ECOWAS Treaty that allows for free movement of goods, personnel within the ECOWAS sub-region. Yes, when you sign international treaty, as a sovereign nation, you are still entitled to some control over your border. That one is basic. You cannot, because of any treaty at the regional level or continental level, look at things that are detrimental to your interest. Then you begin to say, because of that thing, you allow it to fester. Now let's go to the issue of the senators. You listen to the arguments, because yes, it is the normal, like my friend would call it, the marketplace discussion argument. He is putting pressure on the economy. Then the question you ask is how? You see, in a country where you have international trade can come through the sea land, I said the seaports, airports, the land borders, and other entry points. Now, what the president or the government has done, they have not closed down the seaport and the airports. It's only the entry points through the land borders. And there's no country, no matter the level of their development in terms of personnel, in terms of technology, that can effectively man its border. That's why when the current President of America, President Trump, came into office, the first thing he said, even before he became the president, that he was going to build a wall between America and Mexico. And the man said even America was not going to be responsible for the funding. Up to today, despite the advances of America, the influx of illegal immigrants from Canada continues to pose serious threats to American interests. That is America at its level. No talk of Nigeria, where we don't even have borders, do we? Let me just quickly say this. When I was a teacher in Idiroko, which is a border town. Iko Gateway Grammar School. Let me be conservative. About 60% of our students were coming from, I've forgotten the name of this place, but it's in the Republic of Benin. These guys will come with their bag, they will cross the border with the immigration officers, with custom officer, they will crack jokes with them. And so many of them were living big. Many of these students, many of them had vehicles that they were using for smuggling, many of them were living big. We didn't know until many years I had left with Roko. I got to know that many of the illegal smugglers were using these students to even bring in and bring out as bad, as deadly as cocaine. They pack it inside their bag. They come through the border and the immigration see them as a harmless student going to school. That is to tell you the harm that can come. And then if you go to you also remember the usual Nadeko route, how people escape from Nigeria. Then you go to the north, where you see about a convoy of about 100 trucks smuggling petrol out of Nigeria. Not in jerrycan, in trucks. 100 lined up. Now talk of the very dangerous people that come into Nigeria to perpetrate.
So you seem to, from what you're saying, it looks like you are in support of the closure of 100%, our borders.
Because of the present situation we find ourselves.
But is it the solution? Because let me come to you. The senators, some of them argued that the closure of the border has increased the pressure on the economy and impoverished already suffering Nigerians. And we do know one of the major reasons they gave was to stop or reduce the illegal importation of rice, to encourage homegrown production and other developmental issues. But some senators who are also aware of the situation in the country are saying that this is straining the citizenry and putting pressure on the economy. Do you share similar sentiment?
Well, the truth is anyone that has good intention for this country will support what President Buhari has actually done by closing the border. Most of what we consume in Nigeria are imported into this country, and most of them are actually through the land borders. From what I've known always, I know turkey, frozen turkey, frozen fish, frozen chicken, rice, and most of what we consume coming through that place. And it's as a result killing the producers of all these things we have in Nigeria. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we have accepted quantity in Nigeria that will sustain the economy. No. But we've discovered that most of these things being brought in one way or the other, either they are not up to standard, or they are already part of maybe abandoned or shipped out from the countries we're coming from and looking for where to dump them. And they came in. We don't have a good SON that will check all these things. And most of these things coming in, most of them don't even pay.
So what happens with our border immigration services? What are security agencies, the people that are mandated to protect our borders, are they completely incompetent? What are we saying? If we can't protect our borders to stop illegal importation of this, is that the reason why we should close up?
The question is, the people that are in charge of borders, are they well equipped? Are they well trained? Are they free of corruption? Just like he made mention of, students from other countries were coming into Nigeria to study, and they were being used by some people.
So you are actually arguing the point, because if you say there are other endemic issues at the borders, we have corrupt borders, we have officials, and then we have situation in our borders that needs to be addressed. Is shutting down our borders, choking the economy, so to speak, as some senators have said, is it a solution?
Is a right step in the right way. It's the right step as far as I'm concerned. Now, it's going to increase the capacity of what we have within the country now. A lot of people, someone who was producing about 20 cartons before, knows that the border has been closed. We have to increase what he produces, maybe to 50 or 80 for him to meet the demand of the people. to sustain the economy. And not only that, most of our people who have abandoned their job to start smuggling and killing the economy of this country because of their own personal interest. Number one, it will stop those ones. There is nowhere a government will make a policy that will not affect some people negatively. But what matters most is to look at the majority of the people that benefit from it. Someone who was producing 20 cartons before, now increasing to 50 or 100 cartons, will definitely employ more people. That's number one. Number two, then we can inspect what we are producing.
But is that the reality? This border has been closed for just over a month, and we already have a spike in the
China started
price.
from somewhere. Okay. There was a time China closed all borders, sea, air, and land. And they said, let us make use of the resources we have within our country. Let's start using it. And before we know it, look at what China is today. But that is not enough. What is enough is for the government to support the local producers.
Before we close borders, shouldn't there, let me take the question to you, sir. Shouldn't there be plans in place to cushion? Of course, a lot of persons will agree that, I mean, we have to suffer a little to gain the benefits of closing the borders, but shouldn't there be plans in place? Like you talked about somebody that used to produce 20 bags, now knows that he's going to produce 50 bags. Does he have the infrastructure and the capacity to produce, to go as much as 50? Has government made plans to, you know, encourage and equip him with what he needs to go to that level and employ more people, which is in itself a good thing?
Let me start from the issue of the rice that you mentioned. Apart from the issue of just of recent, when the president said he has issued a directive to the CBN governor not to issue foreign currency or foreign exchange for importation of rice. I think it was just the last Salah when he said it. Rice was not banned in Nigeria. I think there's a need for us to make it very clear. When you're talking of international trade is not restricted to land border. When you see, because most of the times, goods that come to the land borders are smuggled goods. If we import your thing through the seaport, which everybody knows you see, we see, or the airport, it's still allowed. Even as at the time, before the president stopped it, they were still bringing in rice through the seaports.
Well, the point I was trying to make with that question was, you seem to agree that the closing of the border is a good thing, and if you look at the long-term implication, there are some merits to it.
I was going somewhere because the impression you gave is that probably, yes, the deficiency in production was so much that we couldn't bridge the gap. I don't know if you are aware that before they closed the border, the rice that were produced in Nigeria were being repackaged, smuggled out, brought in as imported rice. Yes. I don't know if you are aware. Yes. The rice that were being produced in this country through the Anchor program were being repackaged, taken out, repackaged as imported, brought in, and then sold at the expected prices. That is not even the issue. That's why this thing applies differently to different segments. While the one in the north was principally, apart from blocking smuggling of things into Nigeria and smuggling of petroleum products outside of Nigeria. I don't know if you are aware. They said within 1 month, the petrol consumption in Nigeria has dropped by $11.2 million. Barrel. No, liters within 1 month. Yes. That means in the past, Nigeria was feeding neighboring countries with as much as 11.2 million liters, and we were subsidizing that thing. We are subsidizing that thing for those guys. That's why it looks at different perspectives from different areas. Now to the south, which is mainly where our concern is mainly the food ingredients. Then you ask yourself, at this age and time, Nigeria will be importing
okra
from Republic of Benin. Does it make sense to us? I was shocked in 2014. We went for we were preparing for our association election. Then I saw people bringing in pineapple, bringing in tomato from the Republic of Benin. When I was in Idiroko, our guys were taking this thing to go and feed the Republic of Benin. When I was a teacher in 1989, 1992. But when I went back to Idiroko in 2014, our people were bringing in pepper tomato.
Whose fault is that then?
This is because we are so used to easy things. That's why a Nigerian will be importing prepared jollof rice. Prepared jollof rice. Because we are used to what they call easy things. Nobody wants to actually struggle again to produce this.
But it's not peculiar to the Nigerian system.
It is peculiar to us because the opportunities are there for us. Before the advent of this anchor borrower program, what is the tons of rice that Nigeria was importing? There was a report that came out yesterday that in the whole of West Africa, what's the population of the Benin Republic? They are less than 60 million. And they were the largest importer of rice. And when you look at it, the 90% of dried rice find their way into Nigeria. So there's need for us to look beyond the immediate. Okay, we are in a serious situation.
When you closed one, I'm still saying, let me take you on what you said. You said it's not like everything was shut down.
Because I operate in the industry.
Okay, so now that you've shut down the road borders, yes. Not all of them, just a partial closure, right? There are reports, concrete reports, that these smugglers are devising other means to smuggle in these goods that they want to bring into the country. And one of those is the waterways, because they say that the Navy, who is their major issue that they have to deal with, are more focused on people trying to import or export petroleum products. So would you say that, I mean, you're just creating...
No, you're not creating.
You're creating more
because
problems.
If you know, I don't know if you have ever been to around Songo or the mile 2 as is towards Seme. You see a lorry load. You see the heaps. At times they will get to a bridge. They will not be able to pass under the bridge because of the height of the load they are bringing in. But if you are using these small boats, how many can you bring in? Those guys that have said, some people said, oh, they have now faced the water, using water. All those small boats, how many can they bring? You see, what the government realizes the fact. I'm very happy the question you asked, that all happens to the officials that are supposed to be doing this job. And that's why I gave you the example of America. That even with the level of administration of America in terms of technology, they could not manage, they couldn't control their entry points. That's why they are now trying to big war. The size of Nigeria, what will be the money you are going to spend to bring a wall, to build a wall? Like my friend Noale always says, that if you say all the immigration officers, all the customs men, all the people operating at the borders, that if they line like this and then they stretch their arms, would they be able to cover the whole of Nigeria? It's just a joke that we crack in our head. So we appreciate the fact that there will be some hiccups, there will be some pains. He cited the example of China. That of China was even total. But this one is not total. Whatever business you want to do, come and do it in the open.
It seems to be, let me come to you, it seems to be a temporary measure. What should be the long-term plan to ensure that the government actually checks illegal importation of these, products that we can produce here in the country?
Well, I don't know why you think it's a temporary plan.
That's the comment from the Senate, and then you also have the president saying that yes.
It's a temporary. Well, if that's a temporary, maybe they are trying to have understanding of the impact, the positive or the negative impact is going to have in the economy for them to have a better plan about it. Because if you look at the border of Nigeria, I was reading somewhere today that we have 87 official borders, whereas we have other over 1,900 unofficial borders.
We're celebrating our 59th year of independence. We're almost 60, and we're still planning on how to protect our borders.
It's just unfortunate that that's where we have found ourselves today, and we just have to move on from where we are so that we can get better. Like he said, there is no country that has it all when it comes to, but I do watch this border security on one of the TV stations, international TV station, and I see a lot of things happening there. Even some the immigration officer would go as far as going to the hill, going to the forest, and they would see some old already tunnel already dug from one country to another. It's not peculiar to Nigeria. It's something that, but what matters most is that it's to eradicate, to reduce, to minimize. There is no way you can eradicate
So what should be the plans we're looking at?
So the plan now is that now that the federal government is considering a temporary one, they should first of all look at what we have been able to save, the impact it has in the economy, and let them have a plan on whether to either to increase the immigration of the officers at borders, or to equip them more, or to increase the tariffs on the land, or put all the other things that they need, they know that is necessary for them. Let them go out, let them learn from other countries, let them bring it back home and use it for the betterment of this country.
What about Nigerians, the ordinary Nigerian who is bearing the brunt of the price hike in products? I watched a market survey the other day, things that were sold for like 10,000, there is a 5,000 naira charge on top of it. That last 2 months you bought it for 15,000, now it's 20,000. Something you bought for 8,000. Let me see what other amounts I have here. Something that was sold for 15,000, I'm even talking about 8,000. There's been a 40% hike in the price. What happens to the ordinary Nigerian?
Yes, we are.
That's
why we are Nigerians. That's why we are Nigerians.
No, but that's not.
A columnist, I think it was on Monday, said he did something like this market survey, and they got a woman selling gari, and the price has gone up. They said, "Madam, what happened?" Only I am a quantity border. That means you know they have shut the border. The gari seller telling us that. Immediately, this government came in, and then there was this. The issue of what do you call it, dollar,
floating exchange,
and against Nigerian rate, and then even if you wanted to buy carrot, the mother will tell you, I know, say dollar don't go up. That is why we are Nigerians. At times, patriotism comes into this thing, because when you're talking of advanced countries, some of the things we do here, an American will not want to do it against his country. It is just inbuilt. Some of the things we do against our country. An American will not bring in 100 containers and go to customs officer and say, let me give you, pay for 2, you take the money for 2, then my 200 are released.
So we have bigger issues to deal with.
An American will not do that. So patriotism will come in. Then I think what the government needs to do, it's even good that our neighbors are shouting now. Government should have to talk sense into them. Help us to check smuggling. Then we open our borders.
Your final thoughts?
Well, what I would just say is for people to continue to bear in respect of these.
Why must Nigerians continue to bear? I'm tired of hearing this thing all the time. Nigerians, we are like long-suffering people. Why?
Well, just like he said, we are Nigerians. We are Nigerians, and if you find out, we are the cause of our problems.
Simple.
We are the cause of our problems. So, if we fail to do it right, then we must be ready for the consequence that comes with it.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. That's a wrap on this segment. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We'll go for a short break, and when we return, we'll be speaking on Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and the corruption allegation against him. Just stay with us.